Salut YouTube! Today I am here with the lovely Maria.
Hi guys!
We're doing another collab video, and in case you haven't noticed, you've probably seen that I'm doing more and more collab videos lately, and it's because I realized that I can't possibly know everything about the French culture. I haven't lived every aspect of life in France, and this is why I've chosen Maria today, because she's living something in France that I'm not, which is being a vegetarian in France. Maria is also a certified yoga instructor, and she's actually a corporate professional as well, and the two have come together in her YouTube channel, which she's just launched, which is about yoga at work.
Yeah, so my channel is called Prana at Work. It's really a channel to understand how to let go, be more calm, be more stress-free at work. And our videos feature, meditation series that are guided. We have Pilates videos in the morning. As Rosie said, I'm a vegetarian and becoming vegan slowly, and that's really hard to do in France. So I'm actually going to be working on a lot of videos that focus on how you can make vegan food in France. So yeah, make sure to check it out, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm going to link everything down below where you can find her, the YouTube channel, Instagram, everything. So definitely go check it out. But without further ado, I think we should have a little bit of a chat about what it's really like to be a vegetarian and even transitioning to veganism in France, because this is something that I noticed when I arrived, that even though I'm not a vegetarian, unfortunately myself, but I saw how hard it was for other people, and I think it's a very particular aspect of the French culture, right?
Yeah.
It's a very meat-based diet here.
It's extremely meat-based, and I think it goes back to, the history of France and the culture of it, where you have to just constantly eat meat and cheese and,
sausage
and boeuf bourguignon, and, the biggest challenge I think for me was when I came to this country, and I went into a restaurant, for instance, and I said, can I please have a vegetarian option? The chef looked at me and he was like, do you want to eat some grass? I'll bring you some grass from outside.
How would you describe the general attitude to vegetarian and veganism? Are they negative about it? Are they interested?
I think the most important thing is to know that everyone is different, and the diet you choose depends on yourself. So I'm not in any way judging anyone. So it's totally up to you to what you eat. But in France specifically, I think it's the worst when you say you're a vegetarian or vegan, because when you say to someone, I don't eat meat, I choose not to, for whatever reason it may be, the first question you always get is, but why? You're made to eat meat. And you'll have a protein deficiency, or but meat here in France is really good. You're crazy, you're not in the States. I mean, I think our generation is a bit more open.
You recently admitted to your in-laws, didn't you?
Yes,
that both you and your French boyfriend were no longer meat eaters.
Yeah, that was hard, guys. This took us about, I think, a year to say. It was like, oh my god, I don't know how to do this. I'm going there this weekend, I have to eat duck, like a French dish is duck, which is really popular, and that really hurts your stomach if you're vegetarian. And finally we told them, and it was really horrible. So it started at the dinner table, and so my boyfriend's mom, she's very French, so she has her ancestors, so great grandfathers living in the same village for her whole life. And she told us, I recently found this video on YouTube, this thing called YouTube, she's like really old, so she didn't know what that was. She's like, about these people called vegans, and they don't eat meat, and oh my god, they look sick, and it's just not possible. And his stepfather said to us, oh, but when a lion thinks about meat, he doesn't think about it, he just eats it. So it was just horrible. They just kept giving us chicken and lamb, and they didn't care for a while, and then finally they kind of accepted it, but it was a battle.
What I noticed here especially is that, back home, almost every restaurant you see, I mean, it's definitely hipster, it's definitely fashionable, but you're walking down the street and everything's vegan, gluten-free, like, you're not a cool restaurant without that.
Exactly.
How do you find it when you go out, for example, and even in Paris, which is like, arguably the most international spot in all of France? I mean, how is it going out at restaurants? Are there many options?
So in Paris, yes and no. If it's a traditional French restaurant and you go out, people will really be like they'll look at you up and down like you're crazy if you have no meat on your plate. But if you go to a more trendy area, in Le Marais, it's a very trendy area over there, so if you ask for a veggie option, I'm sure they'll have it. It just depends where you go in Paris.
Right.
If you travel across France, we recently went with my boyfriend to Etretat, which is in next to Bretagne, and they had literally no veggie places. It just did not exist. And every time we went inside, they looked at us and they're like, why are you here? It really depends where you're in France, but Paris, I think, is starting to open up.
Yeah.
But it's really in the most, trendy, hipster arrondissement, I think.
Of course. I often find here for the veggie options, like when I have vegetarian friends come to visit and stuff, it's often pasta or burgers, and
that's it.
There's not much, high cuisine, I would say, vegetarian level, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
So on a weekly basis, where do you go shopping as a vegetarian?
So where we go usually with Romain is a place called Biocoop or Naturalia, and these are 2 bio stores that have literally everything. So they even have really trendy, weird products that most meat eaters won't know. So chia seeds, spirulina, which is a algae protein. They even have maca powder. It was quite interesting. In the States, they're very open to vegetarianism and veganism, because I think that the animal industry is so exposed that a lot of people kind of know about what happens in slaughterhouses, what happens with GMOs and all that stuff. So I think that in France, because of the cultural aspect of food and because of the quality here, French food is very good, it's true, and because of that quality, people are more conditioned to say, but it's good quality in France,
so it's okay.
But for instance, I'm also Russian, so I'm half Russian American, and when I told my mom that I'm vegetarian, so I think that there exists more worse countries than France, actually, because in Russia, for instance, my mom said, oh my gosh, you look so skinny, you look so pale, you're gonna die. Because in Russia, I think Russian women are viewed as, if you're a little bit fluffy, it's just so beautiful. And
okay, so they like the curves.
They love it.
Right,
so when I came in, and I'm, I'm vegetarian, so I have lean muscle, very lean muscle. And when I came in, it's just my mom was just crying and you're shocked. And
that's so funny. So culturally, we're not saying that France is the most extreme in any respect. There are some countries where it's just like, you wouldn't dream of it. It would be, how privileged must you be to choose not to eat meat? But I think it is tough here for a modern, open-minded Western country.
Very much. So when you talk about food to others, for instance, I don't know how it is with you, but when I'm with my French friends, all we talk about is, what did you eat the other day? And as an American, I'm like, guys, why are we only talking about food?
You sit down for a meal and you spend the meal discussing like a recent meal that this current meal reminds you of.
Exactly.
Like, one time I ate another pasta, it was delicious.
It was so good.
There are stories and memories and history just so ingrained with food here. Overall, to wrap up, is it possible to be a vegetarian in France?
Oh, definitely. I know that it's definitely possible if you really put your mind to it. If you really are set on the belief that, you want to be vegetarian or vegan, you definitely can. It just means being more aware of what you buy. You need to know where to buy this stuff. So as I said, if you guys are vegetarians living in France, definitely go to Naturalia, definitely go to Biocoop. Definitely, there's lots of great things on Facebook. I'm part of Vegans in Paris, so I follow that club of people, and we have meetups. We talk about, where we can get certain products that otherwise are really hard to get in France if you're living outside of Paris. There are plenty of ways to live this kind of lifestyle. It is just a bit harder, for instance, than America or New Zealand, or
you've got to really want it, I guess.
You've got to really want it, and you've got to really stand your ground and say, I decided to be this way for a reason, and you have to be ready for a bit of negative feedback.
You've got amazing bakeries here. You've got
Very
the farmers
much,
markets, especially outside of Paris. So definitely should be doable as long as you stick to your principles. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us in this video. And if you are actually a vegan or vegetarian in France, let us know down below how you managed to get it done and what your experience has been as well. And we can definitely help each other out down in the comments below. See you next time. À bientôt!